Fish World Aquariums. Today we'll be talking about how to do an easy, cheap brine shrimp hatchery. Now, as you can see right here, this is my brine shrimp hatchery. I know these are bottles of windshield wiper fluid. Probably not the safest, but it works. Okay, so let me explain how this works. This outside thing here, which goes all the way around, is I have a heater in there, so this water stays pretty warm. The current temperature is about 85 degrees, right? And yeah, so I heat the outside water to 82. It's just a little warm right now because I have a light on it. And then in here is my brine shrimp eggs. So we have a little air tube that comes down, goes to my actual brine shrimp hatchery, which is where I put the brine shrimp eggs and stuff like that. And so this works out pretty well, especially since if your house gets colder and stuff like that. These hatch in 24 hours or so. That's when I harvest, and they're pretty much all hatched, so it works out pretty well when you have a heater in there to keep them nice and warm. So this is a good setup if you want to try to hatch as quickly as possible. Of course, if you keep your house at a pretty stable temperature, you find a nice warm spot for it. You can hatch them too. It could be pretty quick, but it could take up to 36 hours if you So how do I have the air hooked up here? I can tell you, so see this aquarium right here? They're both on the exact same air pump. So if you see down here, this salt is my ingenious idea. So you have to buy 2 air pumps to be able to do this, because they each come with one of these little control valves. So I bought another one, but I took the control valve out because I needed all of the water for this. All of the air for this aquarium. And I hot glued it to here. So you basically control the amount of air that goes there by turning this knob, and works out pretty well. It just connects right here to a pump, and keeps, I don't know if you can see those little white dots. Way back there, there's a little brine shrimp, and they keep my fry pretty happy. Nice and happy. Great food for fry and stuff like that. So, how much salt do you want to put in your brine shrimp? Well, you look online, it says like 1 2/3 something per liter. I don't know if that's accurate. But you just, before you take the container that you want to use, cut the bottom off of it, see how big it is, and then you fill about halfway or so, maybe a little more. And so just, if it says like 6 ounces or whatever, you can figure out the conversions. As long as the water is like salty, it's not an exact amount of salt that has to go in here. Like, they'll hatch in a fairly wide range of salt, but you do want it relatively salty. And so they're attracted to light, as you might know. So you take this out, make sure that the water doesn't siphon out, and you put a flashlight on it, and that way you can harvest it with like a little turkey baster or a pipette, or even just, take a tiny net, because all of the eggs and unhatched eggs and stuff like that will float to the top. So that's how you harvest them. If you don't want all the salt water going in your aquarium from like a pipette or whatever, you can use a coffee filter. You just squirt the brine shrimp on the coffee filter and put it in here. And if you do it right, don't put that much brine shrimp eggs in here, especially if you're just hatching for 1 or 2 aquariums. Do not put that much brine shrimp eggs in here, because then you'll have more brine shrimp than you know what to do with. Like, I put a tiny bit of brine shrimp eggs in here, and I have enough brine shrimp to last me 2-3 days. They're best when they're just born. That's the highest protein brine shrimp. But yeah, so that's how you can hatch brine shrimp if you live in a cold place, stuff like that. It works pretty well. Make sure you clean everything out nice and clean. I didn't use any dechlorinator. I will not recommend this. But if you live in a place where there's very low chlorine, the salt should take some of that out, and especially if you let the water sit for a little while. I don't recommend it, especially if you live in like a place where there's, you know, water is very high chlorinated or whatever. Do not do that, but yeah, so thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and hope to see you again in another video.